dashed through the ice on foot and in a car to show you how to get out alive. Fox 9 News starts right now.
Discovered that's not always the case. In fact, MRIs can cause serious injuries, even death. Here's Fox 9 investigator Jeff Ballin.
Well, this is the story of a Twin City man who got hurt on the job. He says he went in for an MRI of his bad shoulder and came out with a hole in his head.
Okay, here we go.
It's an amazing piece of technology.
This is 3 minutes long.
A way to look inside your body without surgery.
It was the worst torture in my life.
But before you or someone you know has an MRI, listen to Keith Soderbeck's horror story.
The right eye is the one that had to be removed. And my left eye here is the one that's tearing all the time.
How did he end up losing an eye after going through a routine MRI exam? It's a nightmare that was some 20 years in the making, and it serves as a warning that this very common procedure has some very real dangers.
23 years I've been a union carpenter out of Local 87.
Soderbeck prides himself as being a skilled carpenter.
I built this house here on Abbott Street.
Besides building his own home, he's worked on some of the largest construction projects in the Twin Cities. 2 years ago, while putting up sheetrock for the new Target store in downtown Minneapolis, Soderbeck injured his shoulder. His doctor ordered an MRI exam to get a better look at the damage. Soderbeck went to CDI, the Center for Diagnostic Imaging. He says he was given a questionnaire like this to fill out before the MRI exam. Among the questions, did he have any metal fragments in his body? Soderbeck says he answered yes. Years ago, while working on a car muffler, a piece of metal flew off a hammerhead.
It went right through my eyelid, in and out my right eye, into my optic nerve.
At the time, a surgeon tried to remove the metal but was unable to, and Soderbeck lost his vision in that eye.
People never knew I was blind in my right eye.
The eye still looks normal, and for 20 years he says he was able to function just fine until he entered the MRI machine.
It felt like I was hitting the head with a dagger.
The way an MRI works is by using a massive magnet
The machine is 30,000 times the Earth's force.
and radio waves to create 3D images. For Keith Soderbeck, it created pure hell.
It felt like a hot burning coal burning a hole right through the back of my eye.
It was that old piece of metal still behind his right eye being pulled by the machine's powerful magnet. After the exam, Soderbeck complained of so much pain that doctors ultimately removed his eye.
You don't let patients into an MRI who have any kind of metal in their body.
Steve Rutzik is Soderbeck's lawyer.
Who do you believe is at fault here?
Well, clearly, I believe the technologist who worked for CDI is at fault.
Rutzik says the technologist never should have given Soderbeck the exam once he disclosed there was a piece of metal behind his eye. CDI says because of confidentiality guidelines, it can't comment, except to say our care was appropriate under the circumstances, and that patient safety is of utmost importance to us. Millions of people have undergone MRIs to diagnose everything from shoulder injuries to tumors. But we wondered, how often are they injured by the exam itself? Those numbers are hard to come by. Most of the stats are based on voluntary reports made to the Food and Drug Administration. The Fox 9 investigators obtained a copy of the FDA's database. It contains a couple hundred MRI incidents from the last 10 years, including several deaths. Burns are among the most common injuries reported. Some patients with tattoos or permanent eyeliner suffered serious burns because of the magnet's pull on the metallic ink. People with metal implants, including a patient with a knee replacement and another with wires in the jaw, reported debilitating pain while undergoing an MRI. One person who had aneurysm clips implanted in their head now suffers from long-term headaches. He described the MRI experience was like having an explosion in his brain. Other injuries come from the so-called missile effect. One patient suffered a serious eye injury when the magnet pulled the nail clippers out of his pocket. A 6-year-old girl was killed when hit in the head by an oxygen tank that flew into the magnet. Another death occurred when a patient's pacemaker malfunctioned because of the magnetic field. None of the reports specify who's to blame for these accidents, but clearly human error is a major factor.
There's a lot of safety concerns with MRI.
How can you protect yourself?
We have to know specifically what is in the person's body.
Make sure whoever does the exam asks lots of questions about any kind of metal in or on your body. Your answers are vital to your safety.
Any piercing at all, we just ask people to remove them.
If you've ever had any kind of metal, even bits of rust, get into your eye, you need to disclose that.
It doesn't matter if it was 50 years ago. We want to know about it.
Gene Stauber is the lead MRI technologist for Ridgeview Medical Center in Waconia.
The smallest fragment. If it's there, we're concerned about it.
And particularly in the eye?
Particularly in the eyes, yes.
An X-ray prior to the exam can help pinpoint any hidden dangers, but Keith Soderbeck says that never happened in his case, and he didn't know enough about MRIs to ask.
People look at me and I don't like it. They look at me strange.
Soderbeck is in the process of taking legal action against CDI for the injury to his eye. He's currently unemployed and on workers' comp because of his bad shoulder. The Fox 9 investigators, Jeff Bell.
2001, March 19th.